Hello, everyone. My name's Jess Richardson. I'm a co-chair of the DSA. Heck yeah, awesome. I am truly honored to introduce the remarkable Maxine Durand. My first encounter with Maxine was at Southern Idaho DSA, and I was immediately captivated by her commanding presence and ability to engage everyone in the room. There's only one way to describe Maxine. Maxine is a bad bitch. Raised in the Magic Valley, Maxine is a dedicated advocate and civil servant who tirelessly strives to create a world where everyone can thrive. As a proud trans woman, she challenges the status quo and amplifies the voices of marginalized communities. Yeah. Her passion for social justice and unwavering commitment to making a difference is truly inspiring. Unapologetically fierce, Maxine uses her platform to empower others, foster change, and fearlessly fight for what is right. Awesome. And as a side note, plugging ourselves here, if you have any questions about the Twin Falls, the Southern Idaho DSA, please approach myself or one of our SteerCom members who are raising their hands. Awesome. Now, please join me in welcoming the incredible Maxine Durand onto the stage.
Thanks, everybody. Oh. Did we just lose the mic? There we go. Sorry, guys. Oh. I've been warned that this mic is a little finicky. So I'm going to do my best to just project and make it through. How's that? Better. Okay. Here we go. Just before I get started, I do want to thank Southern Idaho DSA for inviting me to have the opportunity to speak in front of you all today. I've been really impressed with this group. They've only been around for a few months, but they're already putting in the hard work. They did a $5,000 fundraiser for the refugee center during the federal funding freeze. That was a big one. They've been distributing red cards to immigrants and refugees so that they know their rights during an ICE raid. They've been doing weekly food drives to shelters around town, and they've been doing near daily protests on 5 Points. So I really want to take a moment to make sure that they get the appreciation that they deserve, because they're having So I've been really struggling, I want to say to you all today, because I recognize that this is a difficult moment for all of us, and that if you're here today, you recognize that there's a problem and you want to do something about it. So I want to tell you what you want to hear. I also need to tell you what you need to hear, and I've been really thinking about how best to encapsulate that. And honestly, I think I have to start by saying that we have failed. I cannot, in good conscience, believe that all of this despair around us and the current state of our democracy was somehow inevitable. And I'm also not going to pretend that we could have been spared the worst just by voting harder. The truth is, Donald Trump and Elon Musk and all the others in their orbit didn't just come out of nowhere spontaneously and start wrecking up the place. We knew who they were, we knew what they were about, and we let this happen. Donald Trump lost the presidency in 2020 because after his mismanagement of the pandemic, people were too pissed off to vote for him a second time. We had 4 years. We had 4 years to come up with a plan, to stamp out the remnants of the Trump administration, to build resistance, and it was just enough time for Republicans to forget why they were angry in the first place and for Democrats to go back to brunch. Hell yeah! Yeah! This is going to be hard for some of you to hear, but the truth is, Trump didn't win 2024. Harris lost. And the fact that that was the best we could do, to me, tells me that we weren't trying very hard.
Hell yeah!
The story of this country is said to be one of hope and change and opportunity, and it's told to us like a bedtime story. And Americans are made out to be near mythological figures. We're heroes, adventurers, pioneers, builders of this great vision on noble ideals. But the actual America that we live in is far from that storybook version. In America, we let private equity destroy our institutions. We allowed greedy insurance companies to gouge us on our health care to the point where calling an ambulance is the financial equivalent to a death sentence. We stood by while pharmaceutical companies overcharged us for life-saving medications that they researched with our tax dollars. And we continue to stand by while we send generations of our youth in tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt, pursuing an education, only to then systematically deny them good jobs and fair pay. In America, we put the collar around our own necks and handed the chains over willingly because we thought one day we would be the masters. To be honest with you, I'm glad that Donald Trump and Elon Musk have finally disturbed people enough that they're finally starting to wake up. And I am disgusted that it's taken us this long. People much wiser and better than me have been working a lot harder for a lot longer to try and prevent this day from ever happening. And I can tell you now confidently, in the year 2025, 5 generations of my family working in one form of public service or another, and I am still fighting the same battles that my great-great-grandfather George Durand fought 100 years ago. And I am infuriated by that. Our fight was never about left versus right. It's up versus down. It's the haves versus the have-nots. It is a group of disgustingly wealthy people unified against an ever-growing population of impoverished Americans who are too afraid to fight back because they don't want to think of themselves as poor, but rather temporarily embarrassed millionaires. In 2016, if I had stood up here and told you that billionaires were the problem in our society, you would have told me I was a conspiracy theorist, or worse, you would have called me a Bernie bro. And you did. But now, on January 20th, Trump's inauguration, a man who is himself a billionaire, we saw Musk and Bezos and Zuckerberg and a whole host of other very wealthy and influential people handing him the keys to power. So when I tell you the billionaires are the problem, I don't know what else you want me to say. Our government has been bought for a bargain price. And while we the people are still reeling from the repeated shocks since January 20th, our elected officials act as though they are powerless. Republicans are still acting as though this is all somehow above board, while in private they admit that they're afraid for their lives and their careers. And Democrats cry fascism, but only act performatively and insist that decorum will save our democracy. I am sick of being told by those in charge that there is nothing to be done, that we have no power. I'm sick of watching silver spoon fools co-opt my society while my fellow countrymen beg for table scraps. And above all, I'm sick of being told in a country where we worship the American dream that dreams of health care, education, and an end to poverty are somehow too big. And the people who have been telling me these things, the people who parrot those beliefs, have been suspiciously quiet since January 20th. The only way out of this is through. Our vision has to be more than survival.
It has to be set towards building a new American dream that persists when we're no longer dreaming. To build an America where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is not just a mantra, but a real, tangible, and codified expectation. Where there are no hungry children, where people are lifted out of poverty by genuine assistance and not moralistic platitudes or half measures. Where people can grow and study things like art and science and literature because these are noble pursuits that benefit humanity and not because they might be profitable. This vision of the future is undoubtedly going to look a little bit different than probably any of us expected. But I have to believe that it's better than what we have now, and that it's achievable. Because right now, the only other option, the only other group out there that has an idea for what the future ought to be, and has any chance of getting what they want, are the fascists currently making breakneck speed through Project 2025. Now, to be clear, I believe we can win this fight, but we're not going to win with more hashtag resistance. There is no Katniss Everdeen. Donald Trump is not Voldemort, and we are not the goddamn Rebel Alliance. Luke Skywalker isn't going to come out of nowhere, blow up the Death Star, and save us. We have to be willing to take risks. We have to fight dirty. And if necessary, we have to be ready to throw our bodies into the gears of fascism and break their machine down. If we're going to accomplish this, we have to stop with this Lisa Simpson-style approach to appealing to the moral center, the moral high ground. We have to treat our enemies as enemies, and words like parliamentarian cannot be our weapons of first resort. Groups like Southern Idaho DSA, like I said, are doing the work. But Democrats have spent the last 10 years working harder to appeal to Trump supporters than they have the left wing of their own party. And as a leftist, I have to warn my liberal friends, and surprisingly I do still have a lot of them, that if this is the best you can do, I understand why we're losing. We, your allies, think you're weak. But worse, our enemies think you're irrelevant. It's not my intention to just get up here and bash Democrats. But I need you to understand that when the streets are begging for protest, and when the weakest and most vulnerable in our population are being preyed upon by fascist weirdos, it is not enough to host golf club cocktail parties and post blacked out profile pictures on Facebook. I am not begging you to become leftists for leftists' sake, but to realize that in a world where we literally have billionaires carving up our government agencies and raiding them like their own personal piggy banks, that the supposedly leftist ideas of a wealth tax, or universal health care, or universal education, or so on, are not just pie in the sky, but they're necessary, and they're the only tools we have left to level the playing field against these obscenely wealthy people who will do everything they can for their own personal gain at the expense of everyone and everything else. And all of this is still only focusing on what's going on at the national level, because of course we're still falling into the trap of only caring about what happens in DC and not on Main Street. In the Magic Valley, we live in a rural economy where, by some measures that I have seen, 70% or more of our workforce is undocumented. What are we doing to help those people? What are we doing to get them a path to citizenship, if they want that? What are we doing, more importantly, to prevent them from being exploited? And on that note, what are we doing for small farmers so that they have options and don't have to sell out to factory farm operations that poison our environment and squeeze every last precious penny out of our food system that we literally depend on for survival? Idaho consistently places low in rankings on education and healthcare access, but our state legislature pushes bills to cut funding for those programs and give tax cuts to the wealthy. We can't fund public transportation, but we can ask the Supreme Court to overturn gay marriage. Why, for God's sake, are we just now panicking about Trump and Musk when we've been letting these problems pile up at every level of government on every issue for decades? And why are we letting groups like the Magic Valley Liberty Alliance and tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists on the far right dictate the terms of all of our public discourse? Do you realize that there are more people here today than they have diehard supporters? They think chemtrails are real and we can't come up with a way to beat them? We don't have superior enemies, we lack superior effort. If we are truly capable of moving forward from this moment, we need a political revolution in this country, the likes of which we have not seen since its founding. And it's not going to start with decorum, but with defiance. I implore you to do the hard work. I'll wrap up with this. First, things like protests, mutual aid, and civil disobedience, going forward, these things are the bare minimum. If you don't know what those terms mean, or you don't understand what I'm asking you to do, you come see me after class. 2, more than ever, we need strong leaders. Step up. Run for office. Get a government job. Look for the organizations in your community that are doing the work. Join, help, volunteer, or die. And 3, you have to be prepared for this to get worse before it gets better. So you need to be thinking about things like, am I first aid certified? Do I have an emergency supply of food and water? Do I know my neighbors? Can I trust them in an emergency? What will you do when you see a man beaten in the streets? What will you do when you see a family taken from their home and put in a van and disappeared? Because you're going to face a choice. You are going to face that moment. It's already happening. So you need to know who you are in that moment and be ready to rise to that occasion. We are going to survive this nightmare. The question is, what are we going to do beyond survival? And are we going to fight for a future worth living in? The only person denying you power is you. Thank you.
Give it up again for Maxine. That was fantastic. Well,